Alright guys, Darren from FBA Elite and welcome back to another video. So if you're thinking about starting Amazon FBA in 2023, one of the questions you probably want answered is just how much money do you need to start an Amazon FBA business in 2023 and beyond? So in this video, I am going to be brutally honest and tell you all of the things you need to consider. I want this video to actually put off some people from starting Amazon FBA, because if you don't have the right amount of money and you start with a budget that's too small, you won't enjoy success. You'll end up wasting that money. So I'm going to be as honest as I can in this video. So the video is broken up into two slides. We've got your startup stroke one-off costs. And then on the next slide, we've got product costs, because those are the two main areas you'll be spending with your Amazon FBA business. So let's jump straight into it with your startup costs. And these are all of the things you're pretty much going to have to spend on when you start your Amazon FBA business. So the first thing is registering your limited company. Now you can go the sole trader route, but I would always recommend going the limited company route. It gives you additional protection and there are tax benefits further down the line, which are going to come into play when you start hopefully making some serious returns with Amazon FBA. So you can do this directly with the HMRC. It's only going to cost you £12. You can use some of the formation companies that are available as well. They might charge you a little bit more and they'll upsell you some additional benefits. But the core cost of registering a limited business with HMRC is only £12. The next thing you're going to need is a business bank account. Do not be tempted to use your own personal account with this. You need a separate business bank account for your Amazon FBA business. Most providers will charge. I currently have one of my Amazon accounts with a HSBC business account from many years ago. And more recently, I opened an account with Monzo, and that's worked with Amazon FBA as well. So I'm currently paying £5 per month for my Monzo account. That's why I've got it in there in brackets as a little recommendation for you guys. The next thing you're going to need is an Amazon seller account. That will cost you £30 per month. So it's £25 per month plus VAT. You need the professional account if you're starting Amazon FBA private label. Without that, you cannot run sponsored adverts or pay-per-click. So it's actually pointless having the other account that they offer. So you do need that. The good news is you can actually sign up for a professional account day one. They will charge you for the first month, but they won't actually charge you again until you actively start selling on Amazon. So you can open that account once you've got your limited company and business bank account set up, get a feel for Amazon and Seller Central, but you won't actually be charged again until your stock arrives. So it's well worth doing that early on in the process. The next thing you need to do is to get your logo designed. So if you go to someone like Fiverr, you'll probably pay anything up to around £50 for a reasonable designer to mock you up maybe 3 to 5 designs. So I wouldn't overspend on this area at this stage. A lot of people get really hung up on their brand and logo, but ultimately very, very few buyers make a decision to buy from a small private label seller based on their brand. So at this stage, just get one that does the job. It doesn't need to be amazing. It just needs to be professional enough. You're also going to need barcodes for when you add your product to Amazon. Now you can go the GTI and exemption route, which is free, but there are a few more loopholes to jump through. So I still go with the GS1 route, and they now have a slightly cheaper package called the Starter 10 package, where you pay £50 plus VAT, so basically £60 per year for up to 10 barcodes. And if you use up 10 barcodes in your first year for your FBA business, £60 isn't going to be anything at all to worry about. If you have 1 or 2 successful products, it's going to cover all of these costs that we cover in this video. The next thing you're going to need to do is apply for a trademark, and this is essential for any private label seller on Amazon. This will allow you to apply for Amazon brand registry, which will allow you to protect your listing from other unscrupulous sellers coming on and trying to sell the same product under your listing. So brand registry is essential, and to get that you need a trademark. So to apply for a trademark directly, it's going to cost you £200, and that includes one class. Next up, you're going to need your business insurance, which is going to cost you somewhere between £300 to £400 per year. And there's been a change to the business insurance in the past couple of years, where the insurance companies used to cover your products regardless. Now they will only cover you at this cheaper rate if you get your products inspected in China and make sure they meet the relevant criteria for the sector that you're selling within. So if people are selling you business insurance for £300 and they're not telling you to get inspections, you may not be fully covered. If you want a policy that's going to cover your product regardless without inspections, it's probably going to run you in excess of £1,000. So my recommendation is take the cheaper policy at £300 to £400 and then do inspections on every single shipment, which I'll come back to in a moment as one of the product costs. Another cost you're going to need to consider is your accountancy costs. Now, some people delay this until the end of the first year, but the chances are most accountants are going to charge you the same, whether you're with them from day one or whether you sign up at the end of the first year, as their workload is going to be quite similar. So I recommend to people, once you've decided you're serious about Amazon FBA, sign up with an accountant and get that support from day one. You're probably going to pay about £100 per month to get an accountant and the software that you need. Although you will need an additional piece of software called Link My Books, which allows Amazon to connect to whichever accounting software you're using. So if you're using Xero, then Link My Books is the middleman that will generate all of the invoices from Amazon to go into Xero. So I've been using Xero and Link My Books together now for about 3 years, and the solution works really, really well. You're probably also going to want to consider paying for a domain name and an email address so you can have a nice professional look to any of your contact information. This isn't essential. You can just roll with a Gmail address if you want. But if you do, a domain name and email is probably going to cost you about £20 per year. You are going to need software to help you with your Amazon FBA business. And this is from the very early days all the way to after you actually launch your product. So you're going to need software to help you find a product, to do that product research and analysis, to do your keyword research, to help you with your PPC, to set up and optimize your listing, to actually monitor your listing for any changes, to monitor your organic ranks so you can check how your PPC is going, and lots of other things. So make sure you're using the right software for you. I've been using Helium 10 since 2018 and I still use it on almost a daily basis. So for me, it's still the best and most complete suite of Amazon tools available. So if you use the 20% off discount code that I've got there, which is FBA Elite 20, that will get you 20% off for the first 6 months. So your monthly cost will be about £65. Then finally, on the startup cost, we have training. And if you've already subscribed to the channel and you've hit the like button, of course, then your training is free, as you can go through my back catalogue of videos. If you want my most up-to-date information in the most logical order, then check out the FBA Elite course. That runs at $499, but I think it's well worth it. And if you click on that link, you can go through and see everything that's included in the course. So those are some of the startup costs you need to consider. It comes in at just under £1,000 if you don't go the course route. I wouldn't recommend scrimping on any of these. These are all essential and will really help you get your business in the best possible shape to give you a good chance of success. So moving on to product costs, I'm going to give you an example product cost based on a product, as I've got here, a possible cost for a product selling around about 150 units per month. And I'll add to that as we go through this slide. So the first thing you're going to need to do is order some product samples, or I've got / there, competitor purchases. So what do I mean by this? Well, often when people find a good product on Amazon, the first thing they do is go to Alibaba, they find a potential supplier, and then they spend a fortune buying samples from different suppliers. What I recommend people do is actually order the competitors from Amazon UK. So this is going to be a lot cheaper, as you haven't got to pay extortionate import costs. So if you're buying a product from Amazon UK, it's going to cost you somewhere between £15 to £30 probably. If you're ordering a sample from an Alibaba supplier, you're probably going to be paying upwards of $100 including shipping. So what I do is get 2 or 3 samples from existing competition, get a feel for the product, see all of the things I want to improve, and then I can go to the actual suppliers with a much better specification of exactly what I want. And then usually I need to do 1 or 2 rounds of samples from those suppliers, and it helps keep those costs down. So depending on how many rounds of samples you go through or how many suppliers you get to provide samples, your sample costs can range from anything from a couple £100 all the way up to £500 or more. It all depends on the product that you are considering. So I've just given you a price bracket there to consider. The next thing is photography. So anywhere from a couple £100 again up to in excess of £500. It will vary based on things on whether it's a location shoot. So your photographer needs to go somewhere to take the photos. Do you need a model? Do you need a man or a lady or a pet or something in the photo shoot to make it a nice lifestyle shot? Or can these all be shot in the studio? If so, it's going to be a lot cheaper. So again, your photography costs can vary massively, but you have to budget for this. You need the best possible photography if you want to have a chance of succeeding with Amazon FBA. Next up, we've got packaging design. I've got this as £50. It depends on the product you're selling, how important the packaging look and design is. If it's something that's going to be giftable and it might be part of your main photo, then spend the money, invest in the packaging design. If it's something where someone really isn't going to care about the packaging design, just make sure that packaging is very functional, and the cost will probably be zero, as your manufacturer will just put your logo on their existing packaging. But I just wanted to let you know that you could potentially spend some money on packaging depending on the product that you choose. The same goes for your product insert design. So the primary purpose of your product insert is to try to generate reviews, but the customer needs to see that insert as something that's going to benefit them. So maybe give them the instructions first, or give them some helpful pointers or something related to your product that they aren't just going to put straight in the bin, and then include maybe a review request with that. So I always think offer them value and then ask for the review. And again, you might pay anything up to £50 to get someone on Fiverr to knock you up an interesting product insert design. And this next one can either be in addition or as a replacement to some of your photography. So I've had success lately by getting a designer on Fiverr to render my main photo, because it gives you a lot more control over the setting, the lighting, and the designer can tweak things as you want. Whereas with photography, they normally take a few photos and then you've got to pick your favorite. So depending on the product, this can work really well. Some of the more complicated products, it may not do, but certainly consider whether you want to get a render of your product. And providing you get someone that's a good enough designer, they can make it photorealistic, and Amazon will approve it for you to use as your main photo. Now, this next one is going to be probably your biggest cost, and that is your initial bulk order. So for this example, we've based it on 150 units per month, and I always recommend people order approximately around 3 months worth of stock. So if things start going well, you can order, get that second batch of stock manufactured and delivered to Amazon before you run out of stock. Because if you run out of stock, you have to do that launch process all over again. So I'd always recommend trying to avoid going out of stock as possible. That's why I recommend ordering around about 3 months worth of stock. So if I was going to be looking to sell 150 units per month, I'd order around 500 units. So that's 150 per month plus a small buffer on top. So for this example, we'd order 500 units. Let's say they cost £5. That's going to cost me £2,500. Now, a key point I've got here in brackets underneath is how will you fund the second batch? And this is something that a lot of new sellers overlook. They have enough money for this first batch, but you have to keep in mind, you often won't receive all of those sales proceeds before you order your second batch, because you're going to be investing heavily in PPC, which they're probably going to deduct from your Amazon account before dispersing to you, or you can actually put the PPC on credit card if you want. But the key thing is to plan is, if you don't get all of that money back from your first batch in time to pay for your second batch, how can you fund it? So you might not need that money up front, but certainly make plans for how you'll get that additional funding if things do go well and you do need to order that second batch before you've got that first batch of money back. We then have shipping and insurance, and this is going to vary massively depending on the size and weight of the product. Shipping costs have come down an awful lot lately though, so I've just very loosely estimated this at £500, but if you have a very large or very heavy product, this could be substantially more, and it also depends on how many units you're bringing in. I've got roughly £1 per unit in this calculation, but you could easily be paying £2 or £3 per unit on shipping and insurance. That will mainly be on shipping cost. Insurance is a very small percentage of that cost. You then have customs duty and VAT. So how it works is you add up the cost of your bulk order, so £2,500. You put the shipping and insurance cost on top of that. You're then charged customs duty on that total. So I've put 5% on there as an example, but the customs duty will vary depending on the product. So in this instance, we know that the bulk order plus the shipping and insurance comes in at £3,000. So 5% of that is £150. We then add all three of those up together, and that's when you pay the VAT on top of that as well. So you add these up, you get £3,150. So 20% VAT on that will be £630. Now, if you are importing a product that is DDP, so delivery duty paid, that means your supplier has already paid the customs duty and VAT for you. So if that's how they've quoted it to you, then exclude all of these figures and just focus on the bulk order cost, as your unit cost will be the landed cost to get that product to Amazon. You're not going to pay additional customs, shipping or VAT to get that product into the country. We then have the product inspection, which I talked about on the first slide. Make sure you do an inspection for every single bulk order that you bring in. You're going to need it from insurance purposes to show that you've done your due diligence to ensure the quality of the products are at a certain level. They will also allow you to spot any issues before they leave China. The last thing you want is 500 products in an Amazon fulfillment center with issues that you have to recall. It's much better if someone spots those issues in China, the manufacturer can fix those issues, and then you can continue with your journey. And then finally, we've got your sponsored ads here, and this is one of those things that is very, very difficult to estimate exactly what you will spend. I use a very, very loose rule of thumb that is £5 for every one sale. But of course, this will largely depend on the niche you're in, the quality of your product. the actual PPC cost per click in that niche, so it could be massively different to this. But say you had to generate 5 units per day sales velocity in order to get ranked above your competition, then I would budget around £25 per day for the first month. So I've got there £25 per day to generate 5 units of sales per day for 30 days is roughly going to cost you £750. But you might launch that campaign and you might need to double that spend. You might need to spend £50. So you can see how these costs are very hard to accurately predict what you're going to spend, and how they can easily vary quite massively if your PPC spend is different from what you may expect. So if you are considering Amazon FBA, the key things you need to consider is that all of the costs on the previous slide were basically essential. On this slide, some of them you can save money in areas depending on which approach you take. But if you're looking to drive costs down, the key thing to do is pick a niche with less demand. Instead of picking one that needs 150 units per month, maybe pick one where it's 100 units per month or 50 units per month. But do not try to take on a niche that has too much demand for your budget, because you're just going to lose money. So overall, how much money do you need to start an Amazon FBA business? Well, if you go back through these 2 slides and then look at all of the things that you're going to do and the types of products you're looking at and the types of demand levels you're going to be selling at, you can do your own calculations to get an idea. Now, as a very loose rule of thumb, unless you have at least £2,000 to £3,000, Amazon FBA just isn't going to work for you. With £2,000 to £3,000, it will be tight, but if you pick the right product with low enough demand and the right price point, you do have a chance. But anything below that, you're going to really struggle with Amazon FBA. So hopefully you guys have found that helpful. That content is actually based on content from within the course. So if you did find that helpful, make sure you check out the full course at fbaelite.teachable.com. If you want to use Helium 10, I've got the discount code there, which is FBAElite20, and that will save you 20% off for 6 months. If you did find this video helpful, I'd appreciate you scroll down and hit the like button. And if you want to know how I find great products to sell on Amazon, I'm going to pop up a video now that shows you how I found 25 products within 1 week, and I'll see you guys over there.